My name is Sorayas Journey. I am a transgender Latina. I want to say I'm in recovery. I have lost good amount of weight. I was 220 pounds at my top weight. I'm now 138 pounds. And I have developed a lifestyle that has allowed for me to combat childhood obesity, and take the weight off, and really come to my own development and acceptance of myself, and developing into a human who has decided to transition gender. And so I believe my weight loss and the weight loss maintenance over time allowed for me to discover, and it was revealed that I feel much more comfortable as a female. So that's the path that I've taken. But weight loss for me was the key to self-awareness. And so it's been 31 years of my weight loss, and in the weight loss, I also released the habit that I had, which was very self-destructive. Many habits, I still have some that are self-destructive, but it was the overeating, the smoking, and drinking. I was taking diet pills, so there was some bulimia there as well, some alcoholism. It was just my inability to deal with life and to really live with myself and face myself was really the problem. I just didn't have the skills, and I didn't have the courage to face the truths about myself. And I think being a human being in this world is no different than it was when I was younger. I'm 61, so trying to identify and place myself socially as a Latino person, as a Latino youth, certainly with attributes that were feminine. My goal was always to come out of that and be like this normal, like, boy, flat-chested. I had gynecomastia. I was overweight. I wanted to be flat-chested. I wanted a thinner nose, which is a little thinner, but I paid for this. And I wanted light skin. I wanted to be white. I felt like if I was white and masculine, I'd be left alone. Kids would leave me alone. I wouldn't be called names and be teased. And every time I opened my mouth in school to read something, I had this voice. I don't know what this voice is, but it drew a lot of attention in negative ways, I felt. My process of health, a lot of it has been facing my truths and not overeating to mask my fears and my insecurities and my anxieties, not drinking, not smoking. Then it went into like not saving cute little potential boyfriends and not trying to save family members and learning how to save myself. And then it also went into not compulsively spending, buying a whole bunch of Diet Pepsis during the day, or a whole lot of, music on iTunes, or, software programs to, produce all this music, or, all this stuff like that I was putting a lot of my attention to fill myself up and make me into something that people would accept and love, for whatever that may sound like. But so I learned to just live with myself and then live with like the truths. And the truths aren't that bad, which is that I am comfortable, much more comfortable as a transgender Latina, and still maintaining my weight loss through all these years. But there was definitely a process. So I just want to share, that's my back end, right? That's my story. But I just want to share like what has helped for me all these years. I came into the process of arresting my self-destructive behavior, starting to learn what I could do about that about 1984. And there's a couple of things that I still do all this time. I have to say that it must be working because I'm still on the path that I want to be, which is not overeating, feeling my feelings, not drinking, not diet pilling, I'm really, like, life is really, like, very simple right now. I'm feeling everything. It's not always a great feeling to feel all of this, but feeling it and overcoming them I think is amazing. So some of the things that I've learned that I practice daily, I'm going to just talk about practices right now. In the morning when I wake up, one of the first things I do is make my coffee. And in making my coffee, what I do is as I'm having my coffee, whatever beverage, if you're interested in this process, I have my coffee and I write. Now, this was something I learned in the artist way, but I heard about it in other things, other practices before I found out artist way, and artist way really allowed me to really commit to it or be willing to, which was 3 pages of just free-flowing writing, whatever that is, scribbly, crazy. Till this day, I still do 3 pages. And then reading some inspirational material after the 3 pages of journaling. Reading anything that I can relate to, that talks to me about living life on life's terms, living life without engaging in active addiction or distraction, because addiction to me was distraction, massive. It could be fun, very sexy and tasty, but dangerous at times. Distractions, like living life on life's terms, like really head on, right? Facing life head on. And that was a process. So it was the journaling, the reading, and then meditation, which I've been doing some TM, transcendental, not accidental, but transgender meditation, the transcendental meditation, and that 20 minutes a day in the morning, sometimes twice a day. That I started doing in the last couple of years, but I feel like I've always been doing a form of meditation in the morning. The journaling and the reading to me was quiet time meditation. And so starting my day like that every day, no matter what. I mean, I would go on vacations and take my books with me and get my quiet time and bring my notebooks with me and journal. And that always helped and continues to help. Now, right now I'm in a hotel room. I'm living van life right now. So I really do live in a van. But I've been taking time to come into a hotel room the month of July because there's been some real big business things that I've been wanting to do, and I really need reliable electric and more comfort out of humidity and heat. And my neck was bothering me and stuff, so I figured I'd stay at a hotel a few times during the month to get some work done and to get a little comfortable and get a little breath of fresh air from living in the van and living in the hot spot of Elmhurst, Queens, which thank God New York is no longer a COVID-19 hot spot. So that being said, surviving van life with the same practices and a Ford Transit Connect where I can't stand up straight or have running water and heat in a bathroom, and surviving with really nice curly hair, which I love, and maintaining my weight loss, putting on a few pounds because there's a lot less physical activity, but still, staying on my practice of emotional wellness in whatever way you wanted to find that. Spiritual wellness, I really don't want to call it that. I used to call it that, but it's more just sanity, like maintaining sanity through COVID-19, right? And the fact no one wants to see each other, like none of my family, I get it with the COVID-19, we're all like staying away, keeping our distances, but that's hard, and then living in a van, I chose it. And it's been challenging and difficult, but I've gotten through the winter and I'm getting through the summer and being a little nicer to myself by staying in a hotel every so often, get a good bath and have good electric and get work done. So those are some practices that I've been engaging in, and so that's a little foundation to who I am. So whoever's watching this for the first time who never heard of me before, you can always go on YouTube and look up Soraya's Fierce Cooking Show, and you can see my whole trajectory of when I started my cooking show as a gay man. That's where I was. That's the first stop on my Soraya, on my rocket. Like the rocket took me to the first stop, which is I could talk about a lot of different things about my development and my involvement, but I'm just going to say, in my process of clearing out my addictions and facing myself, I came to terms with my identity as a gay man, but never quite really felt totally like I connected to other gay men, and that I really felt like I fitted in to being as the gay lifestyle for me, or like I had a hard time still, and it was in the development of a persona for my cooking show, because I started doing YouTube videos to teach people how to cook healthy Latin cooking like I was doing, which was maintaining my weight loss, and my friends were enjoying it, and so was I, so I figured I'd share it. I developed a character of Soraya Journey, like Miss Doubtfire meets Sofia Vergara, and in doing that character on my cooking show really allowed for me to see that I am the Puerto Rican Miss Doubtfire, Sofia Vergara, 61-year-old version. And so then I decided to transitioning to become transgender or live transgender life. That really fits me. I feel really, really comfortable in that. So that's my second stop. First stop, gay man. Second stop, really feeling comfortable as a woman, right? So that's been my process. But I want to talk to you a little bit about something I read this morning, and it's a quote from Eleanor Roosevelt, and I'm going to just read it to the best of my ability here, because I'm 61. Okay, the reading goes like this. It says, "You gain strength and courage and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. You are able to say to yourself, I lived through this horror. I can take the next thing that comes along. You must do the thing you cannot do." I love that, and I want to reflect on that. I'm going to just, like, what comes to me right off the bat really quickly is van life. Deciding to do van life last the end of November of 2019. Actually, no, the end of October 2019 is when I started, and it was something that I thought about for a long period of time, and I think I thought about it for a while. I would contemplate because I had a hard time fitting myself into workplaces. It was not easy going into the workforce as an openly gay man. I dealt with a certain amount of discrimination and things, and it was just really, really challenging to try to fit in. And then being a creative, I felt that I was really looking to place myself in corporate situations where, I think in some of them I did really well, but not all of them. And I knew I needed to keep a roof over my head. And then to backtrack a little bit more, growing up, I really wasn't taught skills on how to support yourself. So that's another segment that could be like hours. But so in fitting myself in as an adult and in the workforce, the workplace, and being able to sustain myself with employment, and finding the right fits with employment was always challenging for me. So I always thought about, well, what could be an economical way to live, or have housing that's safe and affordable. And I would see vans like small like vans that were RV-ish. And I'm like, well, maybe. And I would see them in Jackson Heights. I was like, well, maybe that's a way. Maybe that's a way. And I would be walking to work, walking to the subway, and I'd see these little vans parked. on streets near where I lived, and I'm like, I wonder if somebody's living in there, you know. And then when I transitioned to transgender and took on certain jobs, certain positions, and really getting a dose of like some crazy like comments about gays or transgenders and different companies that I worked for, and I won't mention names, it's not necessary, but I really felt it was hard, it was challenging for me as a Latina, working, being part of companies as a gay man or as a transgender Latina. So then van life really started taking more of a hold on my brain, that like maybe I could do this, maybe this would be a way to find my way with career and employment and have the most economical housing costs possible. So I did buy Transit Connect for my business, and then when I moved back to New York from California, because I bought the vehicle in California, I was out there for a while. That was part of where I transitioned with my doctors and surgeries. When I came back to New York, I brought the van with me, and when the job ended and a roommate situation went really sour, I decided to live in the van. So I faced the fear of doing something that I felt I couldn't do, especially in New York City, and it is 9 months later and I'm still in a van and I'm still alive, and I stand up straight pretty much still, I think, and I'm still kind of cute. I haven't, overeaten, I haven't done anything, harmful, especially through COVID-19. I didn't eat through it, I didn't, I didn't make money out of the van doing other things, if you know what I mean. Because, when I walk out of the van, I may look good to some men, and, I definitely have been propositioned, but that's not like my calling right now. So I've stayed, on a path to a lifestyle for me that is something that I'm living by and abiding by, which is just to like deal with it. Deal with van life, deal with COVID-19, deal with the cold, deal with the heat, and try to do my best to get through it. So that was the one thing that I faced. That was a big fear. Like, how could I do van life? My van still is not insulated, but I've cooked out of the van. I've done some cooking show episodes out of the van. And I still do my writings out of the van. I still have my coffee in the morning out of the van. I've been able to even dye my roots in the van, which has been amazing. So I'm really, really grateful for that. But backtracking a little bit to doing the things that I felt I couldn't do, I think one of the first primary ones that established a foundation for me to handle my fears was learning how to live without overeating. And I'll share some of the tools that have helped me for over 31 years. Well, 31 years of maintaining my weight loss. But what I was doing in the very beginning, which, I would stumble and fall and trip and fail with, but what has allowed for me to maintain that weight loss and this style is weighing and measuring my food. It's kind of even hard for me to say it, because for some people they just can't imagine living their lives weighing and measuring food. I am one, as being someone with the eating disorder that I have, which is I ate all day, all night, especially all night, like it just was 24 hours. That finding a food plan that works for me, and then weighing and measuring my food and following a certain amount of exchanges or calories or whatever concept works for you. For me, it's like exchanges, like protein exchanges, carb exchanges, vegetable, fat, fruit, milk, all of that. Having these exchanges each day and weighing and measuring them, and then doing my best to adhere to that plan helped me a lot. And that's still what I do in my life today, 31 years plus. So what that did for me, and it took a while, it took a long time for me to deal with accept it and then really understand it. In the beginning, I didn't understand how weighing and measuring could help me. But what weighing and measuring does for me still is, like, my plan usually is satisfying. Like, it wasn't a deprivation plan. It wasn't that it left me hungry. I had meals that were filling. I had chosen certain foods that I felt were nourishing and tasty, which is why I did my cooking show. All of those recipes were foods that I lost weight on and maintained my weight loss with. But weighing and measuring my food and eating healthier, like higher fiber foods, more whole grains, more natural fruits, eliminating sugar, eliminating alcohol from my diet. So no sugar, no alcohol, that would induce a craving in me. So those two substances were eliminated from my diet or my food plan, which is how I was able to stay on the food plan. I felt once I had alcohol, it created craving for more. Once I had sugar, created the craving for more, and then I would be out of control. But it was identifying foods and behaviors that could trigger overeating, and then weighing and measuring. So weighing and measuring was like it was like putting the cork in the bottle for like someone who is alcoholic, right? But that's kind of like a term that's okay. But what I really like about weighing and measuring is that it allows me to say, right, I had a really rough day, and I come home and I'm weighing and measuring my food, and I'm like, no, instead of 5 ounces of protein, I want more of that. I want 6 ounces. So then I would think about it. It's like, well, you want more food than you normally have because you're upset, you're angry, you're sad, you're horny, you're lonely, whatever. And then what I would do is really, like, I would pray, and I don't know for some of you, and I'm not even using the term praying for me now, but I would really turn over the feelings and say, and then ask the universe to, like, look, I want to stick to my plan. Past experiences has taught me if I don't stick to this plan, if I deviate from the plan, I'm going to probably snowball into out of control eating. And if I'm doing out of control eating, I am really effed. So, and then when I would surrender to the feelings or accept and face that I had a rough day, and an ounce more of protein is not going to cure that. It's actually going to weaken me. For some reason, when I go to put the food on the scale, I'm not struggling with it. I put the food on the scale and it's 5 ounces. Like, so some way the universe knows that I'm having a hard time, and the universe is saying, let's make it easy for her. Bam, 5 ounces. It's happened so many times for me. And the same thing with the carbs and the other exchanges. And then, I do a little journaling at night. I reflect on what worked, what didn't work through the day. How can I make an improvement? Is there amends that I need to make? And goodness knows that amends making was also a very integral part of my serenity, to be able to not turn to people, places, and things to make me feel better, like overeating, or trying to save a really cute boyfriend that I'm dating, or buying a whole lot of things that I don't need, or moving around my furniture at 2 o'clock in the morning. Those compulsive behaviors that I would take on to not look at myself, to not face something. And not to be able to sit with myself. So I remember now I'm veering off tools or methods with weight loss, but so the weighing and so I'm going to come back to weighing and measuring because I want to finish that point. The weighing and measuring of the food then allows me to weigh and measure my emotions and how I'm feeling. And then not using the food to quelch a fear or anxiety or anger or resentment that I'm having, like to really face it, maybe write about it, maybe share about it. Definitely therapy. I've always been in therapy, and I have to say it's been amazing for me, and it's really good to talk about what's going on and try to trace and erase. Like do some tracing. What is it? Whatever. But really to like face it. But I remember like there was this amends that I made in my early process of coming out of the food addiction. I made amends to two relatives. And I made that amends quickly when I sobered up from the alcohol and the sugar and the food, overeating. I quickly made that amends to those cousins. And I tell you, since then, I've been able to to have like some semblance of sanity regarding digestive addiction, like the food addiction, the alcohol, the cigarette smoking all the time. It really, making that amends freed me from the guilt and the shame that I was living with for a really long time. And so that was something that I still do. If I need to make amends, I do, so that writing at the end of the day really lets me see what I've done. Just recently, a few days ago, I was having this really big dilemma and anger and resentment with a business, a commercial kitchen that I'm trying to work out of, and I'm being really triggered by the owner. She's reminding me of a white teacher who's making me jump through hoops unnecessarily, because she's just messing with a Latina, transgender Latina. She's just giving me a hard time. That's how I'm interpreting it. Okay, all right, I have every right to interpret things the way I'm interpreting it. So maybe I need to find another place that's not going to trigger me like that. Another place that's going to have someone on front line that, I'm trying to learn through that. Maybe I'm facing that, but maybe I need to say, you know what, I'm going to try another direction. Maybe find a place that's going to be a little more, that won't be less triggering. So those are the things I could weigh and measure now in my life, because I learned how to not be triggered in that way. So definitely that amends making that I made at that time. And then do I remember the year? Oh God, it was early, like 89, 90, 1989, 1990. After doing that, I really, really, really started feeling much more serene, and that really helped me to have a foundation of feeling good about myself. So definitely the weighing and measuring of the food, I was doing that for a few years, maybe 4 or 5 years before the amends making. And so that was the awareness that came through in the weighing and the measuring of the food. And it allowed me to weigh and measure and be able to scope out my feelings. And then to say that this is probably something that I need to do, that I want to do. And I'm able to face the rejection. I'm able to face maybe my cousins telling me, you've effing blah, 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 blah. You really hurt me. I was able to accept whatever would happen, how their reaction would be. And I thank goodness that the reaction was favorable. Like they're like, oh, what are you talking about? And not, I'm okay. It was okay. I was really, really, really grateful for that, And that really was a foundation for me. And I have to what's coming to mind as I'm saying this and explaining that, how my cousins accepted my apology, or my making amends to them, how that worked for me. My father made amends to me. Oh my God, if you'll maybe hear about it all goes back to my father. I used to say, any of my F-ups were that's because of how my father was to me. And I remember through this period of my life when I was developing these tools and awarenesses, how to work with food, my relationship with food, my relationship with people, my relationship with myself, trying to not be so reactive, trying to be more part of the world, living in the world, a part of it. My father one day called me up and made amends to me. We did not have the best relationship at all. I'm going to end now because the sound outside of construction is getting really loud. But that was something, his amends to me really quelched a lot of the angst that I had with him. And it was amazing. I don't know how he came to an awareness of making amends, but he called crying to me, apologizing for what had happened and our relationship. Myself, at the time being a young person and what I went through with him. Um, so those are the topics: facing the fears, my practices, what I do each day to stay centered and grounded, the amends making, the benefit of amends making, the benefit of reflection in the morning and at night, and really trusting that the 5 ounces of protein and the carbs in the fruit that I have in my plan is going to be enough. And if I'm having a rough time with my emotions, that I could just sit with it, maybe talk to a friend about it, write about it, and really release it to the universe to say, listen, I'm doing the best I can, and overeating or engaging and saving somebody and doing for others what they could do for themselves, it's not going to work, and I can get through this. Usually, most times, I get through it. So thank you very much for watching this, and we'll talk soon. Okay, this is Soraya Journey, Fierce Reflections. Bye.